Press release. The government of the Republic of Niger brings to the attention of national and international opinion that on March 12, 13, and 14, 2024, its representatives under the authority of His Excellency Mr. Ali Mohammed Lamine Zein, Prime Minister, had a series of working meetings with an American delegation composed of the Deputy Under-Secretary of State for African Affairs, Head of Mission, Mrs. Molly P., Dr. Celeste Walanda, Under-Secretary of Defense for International Security Affairs, General Michael Langley, Commander-in-Chief of AFRICOM, and Mrs. Kathleen Fitzgibbon, Ambassador of the United States of America to Niger. Under the form of the arrival, the American delegation did not respect diplomatic practices. In fact, it was unilaterally, by not verbal, that the American government informed the Nigerian government of the date of arrival and the composition of its delegation, as well as the Nigerian authorities to be met without any clarification as to the purpose of this visit. It is therefore out of courtesy and following our old-age traditions of hospitality that the government received the American delegation. On the merits, the exchanges between the two delegations focused mainly on the military transition underway in Niger, cooperation between the two countries, particularly military cooperation, and the fight against terrorism. The political orientations and perspectives of Niger in their aspect relating to the choice of partners on the diplomatic level, military and strategic level, it being understood that in the American approach, all these three questions are deeply linked. On the current transition and the return to the best constitutional and democratic standards, the government of Niger has reaffirmed its firm desire to organize as soon as possible the return to normal constitutional life. This is a solemn commitment with full responsibility of the President of the National Council for the Safeguarding of the Fatherland, Head of State, as expressed in his address to the nation on August 19, 2023. On the choice of diplomatic, strategic, and military partners, the government of Niger regrets the will of the American delegation to deny the sovereign Nigerian people the right to choose their partners and the types of partnerships capable of helping it to truly fight against terrorism, even though the United States of America has unilaterally decided to suspend all cooperation between our two countries. Also, the government of Niger strongly denounces the condescending attitude accompanied by the threat of retaliation from the head of the American delegation towards the government and the people of Niger. This attitude is likely to undermine the quality of our centuries-old relationships and undermine confidence between our two governments, already started by the events of October 19, 2023. Concerning the specific cases of the Russian Federation and the Islamic Republic of Iran, the two countries with which Niger maintains diplomatic relations for several decades, and which particularly focus the interests of the United States of America, the government wishes to bring the attention of the Nigerian people and of all the peoples of the international community that it has never signed a secret agreement with its partner countries. All agreements signed by Niger since the advent of the National Council for the Protection of the Fatherland respects international law and the rules of transparency. This is why the government of Niger rejects the false allegations of the head of the American delegation, consisting of maintaining that we would have signed a secret uranium deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran. This cynical approach, usually used to discredit, demonize, and justify their threats against states, reminds us of the example of the Second War of Iraq. In fact, Nigerians and the entire international community still remember the false evidence brandished by the American Secretary of State before the Security Council to justify American aggression against Iraq. And in this affair, the government of President Tajar had been falsely accused of having supplied uranium to the Baghdad authorities, even though it is public knowledge that exploitation of Nigerian uranium is totally controlled by France. As for the Russian Federation, it is a partner with which Niger deals with state to state, in accordance with the military cooperation agreement signed with the previous government to acquire the necessary military equipment for its fight against terrorism, which has killed thousands of innocent people, Nigerian victims, under the indifferent eye of a large part of the international community. Finally, Niger reaffirms its solemn commitment to cooperate with transparency and respect for its sovereignty with all countries and peoples loving peace and justice, in accordance with the rules of international law on cooperation between the two countries, in particular military cooperation and the fight against terrorism. It should be remembered that the American presence on the territory of the Republic of Niger is illegal and violates all constitutional and democratic rules with which require the sovereign people, particularly through its elected representative, be consulted for the installation of a foreign army on the national territory. Thus, it is by simple verbal note number 174 by July 2012 that the American side unilaterally, verbally imposed on Niger an agreement relating to the status of the United States military personnel and civilian employees of the U.S. Department of Defense on the territory of the Republic of Niger. This agreement is not only profoundly unfair in its essence, but also does not meet the aspirations and the interests of the Nigerian people for the following objective reasons. First, it forces Niger to pay related bills, taxes on American military aircraft, in which the latter must normally pay and which cost billions of CFA francs to Nigerian taxpayers. Then the competent Nigerian authorities have no information on military activities carried out from American bases in Niger and ignores even the civilian and military personnel as well as American equipment deployed on Nigerian soil. Finally, the U.S. military has no obligation, according to the agreement, to agree to the Nigerian request for support against terrorist groups who assassinate our valiant defense and security forces and massacre our hard-working populations. Also, since July 26, 2023, and in the advent of the National Council for the Safeguarding of the Fatherland, the American government unilaterally decided to abruptly suspend its military cooperation in violation of the agreement imposed on the Nigerian people by invoking Article 708 of the Consolidated Appropriation Act, without going to the end of its logic, which would have it withdraw its soldiers from the Nigerian territory. Furthermore, for several weeks, the Nigerian government has noted illegal overflight activities over its territory by American aircrafts, and which are likely to raise questions about the sincerity of their partnership and the relevance of maintaining the military cooperation agreement imposed by our verbal in view of all of the above. The government of Niger, taking into account the aspiration and the interests of its people, has decided with full responsibility to denounce with immediate effect the agreement relating to the status of the military personnel of the United States and civilian employees of the U.S. Department of Defense in the territories of the Republic of Niger. Diplomatic correspondence will be sent out to the American side to this effect, done in Niamey on the 16th March 2024.